And so like now we're dealing with a situation where we have vaccinations available, and if you're going off of New York State alone, the rollout of this vaccine has been such a fucking disaster that like I don't know, like up until like yesterday they weren't even vaccinating people on the weekends. And then Cuomo has this new plan where only hospitals can administer them, and then if they don't administer them, they'll be fined.
It's insane. Oh, and if they give them to anyone who doesn't have a certification that they are in the right part of the line for one, then they get fined. That's what he's doing. That's the activism of his government. We are not doing anything to make this a effective vaccine distribution. Instead of using institutions that had been building up capacity up to this moment, no, we're going to shoot it through hospitals. We're going to do it by my direction because he's concentrating all powers in his hands during this. He's like doing a little secret, like he's taking over more parts of like the budget and shit. He's literally like seizing power, like
he
Trump was supposed to have been doing. He's the one who's actually doing Trump's like disaster capitalist like grab for power, not fucking not Trump. It's fucking Cuomo.
Yeah, no, everything that people criticize about Trump is also very true about Cuomo, but Cuomo actually does most of it.
Yeah.
Cuomo is, another fucking egomaniac who, thousands of people are going to die from not having the vaccine because it's like he has to have his fingerprints on it.
Yep. And because of that, it's like, so we're in a situation where this is going to be botched. There's going to be a lot of death and there's going to be corruption too. Like people are going to jump the line. It's New York. There's a lot of rich people, a lot of influential people. And it's not going to go well. It could go better if Cuomo wanted to be anything other than the fucking absolute piece of shit prick he was and wanted to keep all the like non-functional neoliberal structures of government in place.
I mean, it's not just that
Cuomo, like the Cuomo regime. It's like every parody of Soviet bureaucracy, but with the standards of life and regard for human welfare of the current system.
And it can't do any better. So what's he going to do to act like he's doing something? Just like he did when he told everybody, oh, if you go out for a drink, even though you shouldn't be going out for a drink, there's a fucking pandemic going on. You got to make sure that you have a sandwich, not a chicken wing. Like that's what he's doing. That's his active participation in like saving lives. Here it's, hey, hospitals, do an impossible thing. Oh, they can't do the impossible thing? Well, it's not because we didn't try, because we're punishing them if they don't. And that's it. They can threaten them. And then say, hey, we tried because we levied fines and we punish them, even though you're asking them to do something that they cannot do.
Well, yeah, this is part of like his lead up for the presidency. I feel like is his goal here is probably like, to make some hospital administrator look bad, or ideally, catch some sacrificial lamb rich guy, one of the rich guys who hasn't donated to them, and throw the book at them for cutting in line and be like, Cuomo stood up to COVID line breakers.
But here's the funny thing: if it was the distribution of any other like needed life-saving government service, then like with things like people cutting in line or gaming the system, like that's a big problem, and it's a big problem with vaccinations too. I mean, I don't mean how big a problem is, but like I don't relish the thought of some rich asshole getting special treatment to get a vaccine earlier in place of someone who more desperately needs one. But the problem with that is when you're talking about vaccinations, the end goal is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. So one person skipping in line at the expense of someone else is, it's unethical and probably criminal, but like it's just like setting up all. I don't think it demands setting up all of these fucking like penalties.
Everybody's supposed to get vaccinated. There's no way to give the wrong person a vaccination.
Exactly.
If the alternative is them not going to waste, which they will.
And that's the other thing, is that there's an expiration date on these vaccines.
Yes, you're giving them an impossible fucking math problem, and it's a Kobayashi Maru. So and it's like
there are situations now.
It's like, oh no, he skipped the line. Good though. It should have been in the trash, you fucking assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Like if and this is a very real thing, if the opportunity is like someone skipping the line or getting the vaccine who isn't certified, and like usually the alternative is that vaccine going in the fucking garbage because it's going to be like it's going to be not useful. It's going to pass its expiration date, and like pharmacies are getting to the point where they have like, stockpiles of vaccines that are going to go bad in like a couple days, and they just start handing them out to people. And under Cuomo's regime, they would be fined like $100,000 or $1 million or something like that.
And those people, that botching, that failure, that's compounding the failure at the heart of the whole thing, the incompetent, like corrupt, privatized distribution in the first place. That makes it worse. But it's necessary, because otherwise, how would you, as Cuomo, be able to point to having done anything, even though the thing you did literally makes it worse and gets people killed?
Right. Yeah. And this is, this speaks to the heart of the modern welfare state. The worst thing that could happen is not that not enough people get the thing; it's that the wrong person gets.
Yes,
the thing.
exactly. Yeah. And like, and Felix, to your point, like this is both about his management style. I mean, like the Albany Times-Union has a story out today about how like there were plans in place for a mass vaccination. That much of it was funded by millions of dollars in federal grant that had been in place all summer long. And as soon as these vaccinations came in, Cuomo and his administration has just seized control of the vaccination program for themselves and are directing, like, micromanaging all of it. And like all of these plans were set up in place so that like things like getting a COVID test would be like sort of a dry run where people could get them at low-income health clinics or drive-through places, like the same places that they had been administered a test would give them the vaccine. And now Cuomo is managing all of this personally, and it is, of course, about seizing power for himself and being able to go on TV and look better than Mayor de Blasio or look like a national leader. But there's also, as you pointed out, there's like an ideological bent to this as well, because like when you're dealing with a mass, like a public health crisis that demands state action, like somehow, like no one asked them to do this. It's not necessary. They've come up with a way to means test it and create all of these hurdles to fucking accessing the actual thing that they're supposed to be administering. And also, I'd like to point out just a little history lesson that I came across this week that I think is very telling. In 1947, there was a smallpox outbreak in Manhattan, and the city of New York vaccinated 6 million people in less than a month. And I think like something like 300,000 vaccinations have been used so far. But that was in 1947. Somehow the state had capacity to produce and administer 6 million vaccines to the entire city of New York.
All that capacity has been sold off. We
got rid of it.
If there isn't 15 people with their fucking hand out, it isn't a transaction of any kind of size in this country.
Yeah, no, all the public-private partnerships, the point of them is to add as many people in between the person and the thing they need in the name of efficiency, while simultaneously making it cost more and causing less people to get it.
Creating phony baloney bureaucratic jobs at every fucking level, honeycombing throughout the economy.
But I mean, this would be infuriating on its face alone. But the fact is that like Cuomo has suffered absolutely no hit to his reputation.
Oh, they love him
at all.
They love him. They love Cuomo.
This asshole had a book that came out this summer about like crisis in leadership and dealing with the COVID pandemic as like a profile in courage and leadership to like pad his eventual presidential run. And I just actually wanted to read to you guys now the flap copy from that book, which again came out this summer. New York Times bestseller. Governor Andrew Cuomo tells the riveting story of how he took charge in the fight against COVID-19 as New York became the epicenter of the pandemic, offering hard-won lessons in leadership and his vision for a path forward. When COVID-19 besieged the United States, New York State emerged as the global ground zero for a deadly contagion that threatened the lives and livelihoods of millions. Quickly, Governor Andrew Cuomo provided the leadership to address the threat, becoming the standard bearer of the organized response the country desperately needed. With infection rates spiking and more people dying every day, the systems and functions necessary to combat the pandemic in New York and America did not exist. So Cuomo undertook the impossible. He united people to rise to the challenge and was relentless in his pursuit of scientific facts and data. He quelled fear while implementing an extraordinary plan for flattening the curve of infection. He and his team worked day and night to protect the people of New York despite roadblocks presented by a president incapable of leadership and addicted to transactional politics.
Real mirror match there.
He did it. He fixed it. Well, he fixed the COVID, I assume, sometime in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what liberals always wanted. They wanted their own 9/11, and they got it.
Yeah, and he's their Giuliani. And he's also, honestly, he to me is becoming the closest thing we're going to see to like a Democratic Trump, in the sense that he is going to embody the worst, most sadistic side of like liberalism. The same way that
Yes.
Trump plays to all the darkest instincts within, like the public face of like conservative politics. Cuomo is just going to appeal to the idea that nothing can get better in this country. It's all the fault of conservatives, and we're here to make them pay for it.
Yeah, no, it is just a political program without any positive rights or things being given to people, no alleviation of pain, just the constant wallowing in misery and righteousness.
Yep, and getting to get just a secondary charge from seeing your enemies tormented by the state, which is also tormenting you, but that pain is their fault because things would be better if it wasn't for them.
He is probably the most ominous figure in American politics right now.
Yeah,
I
he's
feel
a creep.
I'm
He's
not
a
a
creep
friend.
for
I'm not. I'm Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, like anyone you can name. Yeah, repellent. But it's like those guys aren't going to be president.
No way. Zero check.
They're
chance.
not. They're Republican Liz Warren.
Yeah.
They're talked up by people who just fucking read Axios all day and don't realize that they'll just resound with a thud with voters.
They keep
like
thinking
Warren
that,
did.
that like there is some sort of electoral advantage to having a ideologically coherent synthesis of Trumpism. Like that's what the voters are looking for. Like, no, that's what you're looking for, you fucking dork. Get off the internet for a minute.
Right. But Cuomo's combination of megalomania and authoritarian personality and policies, I think it appeals to a lot of Americans. I hope, maybe that he will end up like a Giuliani, because I had similar fears about Giuliani. And it turned out that the more people saw of him outside of his own hometown, outside of his own state, the less people liked him. And then he just, became the guy he is today, the guy who is videotaped every 3 days jacking off at a Remax office for some reason. Maybe that will happen to Cuomo. Maybe we'll get lucky. I am very fearful one day of a Cuomo presidency, because it would be, maybe he'd be, in some forms, he'd be our Ataturk,
Oh God,
like he'd call back to some golden period of American empire, the Eisenhower years. There would be some like mass killing event that he orchestrates. That is possibly the darkest timeline that is possible.
I could definitely see him presiding over some sort of American P2 lodge and then pulling the strings from behind the curtain.
Can we see the clip of Cuomo talking at the press conference today? This is just from this afternoon, where he's justifying his this sort of or decreasing the number of places you can get a vaccine and imposing stringent penalties on not using the vaccine properly. This is just this is a press conference he gave just this afternoon. Let's get a little taste of Cuomo here in our mouths.
Very serious public health issue. And Department of Health, Commissioner Zucker is very firm about making sure the hospitals step up and deliver here. So any provider who does not use the vaccine could be fined up to $100,000. Going forward, they have to use the allocation within 7 days. Otherwise, they can be removed from future distribution. As you saw, we have almost 200 hospitals. If one hospital isn't performing, we can use other hospitals. I do have a problem with the hospitals saying they're going to participate, receiving a scarce vaccine, and not administering it. But I have not heard any explanation other than it's only been 3 weeks, and not everybody comes in every day, and people have different shifts. It's all the bureaucracy. I don't want the vaccine in a freezer. I want it in somebody's arm. So, yes, I'm being aggressive.
Yep, I'm being aggressive. I'm not making it easier for people to get it in their arms, like, say, I don't know, doing vaccinations more than just from 9 to 5 during business hours, like something like that. No, we're punishing people.
So he's saying
I'm sorry, I'm getting aggressive.
He's being aggressive to the hospitals. So, like, only they can distribute this vaccine, and they have to use it within the time they get it, which is like 10 days. And they just say, hey, I just want them to give it to people. But to give it to people, the people themselves have to be certified or something like that. It's like it's like you're blocked on two ends. So like you have to use the vaccine in the time you get it, and you have to give it to the people, but the people you're giving it to have to be certified, which is like a recipe for ending up with vaccines just in the fucking toilet.
Yeah, but
Because,
somebody
like,
paid for it.
Because like if you're a
Somebody paid for that
hospital
bundle.
administrator, and we know what fucking penny pinching pieces of shit they are. Like, do you think if it's going to come down to, we have 300 doses of vaccines that are going to go off, should we squirt them down the fucking sink, or just like line up 300 people and just stick it in their fucking arm, regardless of who they are, or maybe or if they've cut in line or they haven't been certified yet? What do you think they're going to do? Face $100,000 penalty for each dose, or just fucking chuck them, just bin them?
Yeah, but the rules have been followed, and that's the important thing.
What a fucking
Yeah.
what a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's that's my dead zone guy,
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo.
No, creep.
That was it. That was
awful.
it. That was great. After he killed all those old people by putting COVID patients in nursing
Yep,
homes,
and he's
would-
bragging
well,
about
he would
what a
go
fucking
on.
genius he is. Just
Yeah, then he would. But like, it's one thing to write a shitty book, because like every governor that where there's like, a milk truck crash that kills 47 people writes a book that's called like, Honor and Leadership or whatever. But he would just go on TV and do like sub Dean Martin spaghetti fucking humor.
oh god, him and his
Shithead
fucking
brother.
brother yucking it up on CNN. It's the most disgusting. You're so disconnected from reality that these psychos think that that's cute.
Did
Hey,
you
I'm the governor of New York.
I'm actually the favorite kid. Hey, you're gonna have to send me pizza if the Giants win. Oh my god, I've never like I'm not going to say the next thing I was going to say. It's referencing a famous parody event. But yeah, no, that was one of the most repulsive fucking things I've ever seen. Well, old people are just dropping dead directly because of what he did. Like, just fucking just a soulless person.
Scumbag.
Like everyone who made hay about Trump like throwing the paper towels like a basketball. That's just, it's like, what is different about anything Cuomo's doing? What's different? The only thing that's different is that like Trump is like, medically has a 72 IQ. That's the only thing.
Yeah, he's more polite. That's the thing, and that makes him a good person.
He's not even more polite. He's a fucking prick.
No, he's polite in the sense that he says, "I am I am a black. I am a Jew.
that was awesome.
I am
That was awesome.
transgendered." That makes
was
him a good
aw-
person. That he did the fucking litany.
As a New Yorker, I am a Muslim. As a New Yorker, I am Jewish. As a New Yorker, I am black. I am gay. I am disabled. I am a woman seeking to control her health and her choices.
That was awesome when he just like did the. I think that I can't wait till we find out what chemical they were giving Democrats to fake cry, because Schumer did it in
Oh God.
like in 2017 was such an awesome year for this shit, where just like someone who's dedicated their life to evil since like 1971 gets
Yes.
up there and they're like, I've been reading bell hooks.
Yeah.
I'm a woman. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm a Jewish atheist.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If you're Borat and you
I am.
can convincingly make it look like Cuomo is trying to take out his thing around an actress, please do it, because we want to prevent an American Ataturk.
Yeah. No, it's not going to be
It
good.
would actually accomplish a lot less than Ataturk, but you get what I mean.
No, all the bad stuff, none of the good parts.
Yeah.
Basically, an American Erdogan. You mean?
Yeah, actually, yeah. No, it would be exactly like an American Erdogan.
Just a maudlin, whiny asshole, just presiding over a brutal neoliberal austerity, backed by a mawkish nationalism.
Yeah. I was thinking about that Erdogan thing where he was like bitching about how unfair people are to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, they've said awful things about me. They've said I'm Greek.
They just said I was
I'm
Armenian.
Armenian. It's so funny. Fucking piece of shit.
I think most people are feeling right now that like certainly after like 9 months of like indefinite pandemic quarantine and like paranoia, it's accelerating a process by which like everyone, no matter what their political point of view is, feels that like they're living in a world that is like rapidly spinning out of their control or ability to understand or affect the outcome of. And that in a political system like ours, in which material politics have all but vanished entirely.
Yes.
Like, like we said about QAnon, like what are they actually are against? Like, I don't know, demons and bad numbers that you can add up to give you prophecy. And like, what do they want to do about it? I don't know, execute everyone who doesn't agree with them, or like, liberals. Like, what do they want? They want because these culture war totems, these feelings of like being acknowledged or represented, or it's just like in the absence of like the complete abandonment of like any material politics. It just what everyone reverts to it, and we've said it many times before, is this kind of like these culture war skirmishes where it's just like, as Matt, you said last episode, everything is just about like making sure the people you don't like are the ones who suffer more than you do in this like miserable as conditions worsen and get like I said, you're the feeling of like your ability to affect the future or do anything, or that your voice or vote or tax dollars, that you have any control over it whatsoever, is like almost people like on some level all know that like it has no effect whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's out of their hands entirely. There's no connection whatsoever. So, I mean, like I said, I expect, that there not to be any definitive end to QAnon, or like, oh, Biden's inaugurated, let's find, like, I just think like this shit things like this will continue to happen, and like, how bad it gets or how far it spins out of control is anyone's guess, but like I just think we'll have this kind of roiling like symbolic culture war battles that will lead to people actually dying.
Yes.
It just
I have one prediction.
Go ahead.
Okay, so people are saying like, what's it going to be? The Democrats are in charge. What can we hold them accountable for? What can they be doing? I think Corona and the financial collapse and high unemployment and all of that shit means that the degree to which they are going to be, quote unquote, exercising their power is not going to be legislative, and therefore not subject to any democratic thing. I think it's going to be largely discretionary and bureaucratic. And Cuomo is the perfect example of that.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
That is, I think, that's the first sign that they're going to be doing things that have nothing to do with the legislature, with votes or whatever, but are nonetheless an exercise of extreme power. I also thought for a long time that Cuomo was a super dum-dum, which is, anti-Italian racism on my part. But it's like he definitely has that mob shit of being like, I got a hot ticket here. I can control this. He's smart enough to know that. And he's smart enough to, what he's doing to healthcare workers is literally torture.
Oh, monstrous.
It's awful.
Killed all those old
torture.
people. He fucking straight murked them at the beginning of fucking Corona.
He's a killer.
Well, giving people a
He's killing
job
people
that
now
they
by fucking up the goddamn
Yes.
vaccine distribution on purpose.
Yes, and he's doing it on purpose.
He's
That's
getting
the thing.
his stubby sausage fingers all over the place.
Because one, it's a way for him to consolidate power and to be like, I've got this thing that everyone needs, and I'm for some reason in charge of the program's rollout. And whoever heard of a fucking Italian hospital administrator? It makes no sense at all. And he is now in a position where he has he's given them a job that they can't possibly do. I'm not kidding when I'm saying it's literally torture. Like, they would do it in like concentration camps. They would give you a job that you could almost do, that you could almost complete. Like, the quota would just be a little too high. And the idea is literally just because if you're given something that you can't do and you're in a panicked situation, you don't think, fuck this motherfucker. I can't do this. Fuck you. You're so focused because you're in a desperate situation. You're like, gotta peel the potatoes, gotta meet the 500
Productivity
potato
goes up.
quota. Gotta do it. And it's incredibly disciplining because you don't have time to think, what the fuck are you doing? You don't have time to be mad at the person. So it's simultaneously disciplining. It provides like a scapegoat for him to be like, I cracked down hard on public employees who weren't doing their jobs. I'm a leader keeping people safe. Meanwhile, it also prolongs the disaster and exacerbates like that just the absolute like healthcare travesty, so that he appears a strong leader. Meanwhile, he is, I believe, actively not only consolidating his power, but like allowing the disaster to flourish so that he can exercise like these fucking weirdly punitive and I mean, just surreal, awful policy.
Absolutely.
What Cuomo has mastered, well, this is a thing that Trump intuited, but Cuomo is mastering it consciously, is that when you don't really have any power over the broad contours of American life and immiseration is like the market's doing, you can really only show authority by punishing people, by directing state violence, by fining, by arresting, by sanctioning. And Cuomo gets that. He gets that a lot of his appeal among liberals is that he punishes the right. He spanks them on their bottoms. And because they blame the right for why we can't have good things, they don't realize how much fucking Cuomo's entire power structure depends on things being terrible. But they want him to take out their frustration on the right.
I mean, when he's not punishing the right, he's empowering them in the New York State legislature.
Now he has the fucking vaccine, and he gets to be fucking a Morton Cuomo and fucking like control the water / vaccine. He's smart enough to be like, it was literally, I'm like, oh, I bet we could find the Blagojevich fucking, I got a real hot thing right here. Like he knows
Do
how
not
important it
grow
is.
addicted to the vaccine.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's like he is. I always got mad over the shit Blagojevich caught because I always said he does the thing they all do, and his crime was that he was arrested for being stupid enough to say it on tape. Like,
And having an amazing hairline.
yeah,
They're punishing him.
exactly. Yeah, I look forward to the Cuomo dictatorship. I can't wait till we're woke. There are 5 calls to prayer a day to watch Chris and Don Lemon banter. I already love watching that and shoving a Chinese-made SKS rifle up my asshole while I watch that.
Yeah, I can't wait till we have like the public execution of one nurse a day because she vaccinated someone who jumped in line, and everyone cheers wildly because he's protecting us. Meanwhile, fucking vaccines are going bad on the shelf.
You know who Cuomo? If Cuomo will become our Franco, ETA is alive in Western New York. They are the Basques.
Shit,
No one knows where they came from.
If Cuomo became like president, wouldn't like our native insurgency be QAnon? Wouldn't they be like our woke rebellion?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be like the Spanish Civil War because you would have Nova separatists and they're the Catalans.
Yeah.
You'd have the ETA in Buffalo. That's what I'd be a part of. You'd have QAnon. It'd be a good time.
QAnon are kind of like the Carlists, I guess. Like the small-holding peasants of Navarre and the Basque Country.
Yeah, no, they would. Yeah, because they want something.
Big floppy red berets for all of them.
They want to restore the closest thing we have to an ancient regime, which is the Kennedys.
Yes, in the form of the Trumps.
Yes,
the fusion of politics and business and spectacle and the real.